it's a million things.
What I love about um, a lot of kind of landscape, I use the word landscape shots in the broadest sense,
Mhm.
but say Milky Way shots, for example, I find super fascinating because it's not really just about the Milky Way, but it's also about everything else, the foreground and
Mhm.
the way it's positioned. Um, do you have like a favorite spot um, for storm photography?
Well, in general, I am very, I would say, kind of minimalistic in my style. I like to be maybe high up, and I like to have kind of a wide open foreground. I don't necessarily like distracting things. I've been trying to break that habit a little bit with getting sunken in more to like saguaro landscapes. I got a nice shot this year, and with a couple saguaros and big bolts behind everything, and nice sunlight and stuff. And so I've been trying to do that because I know in general there's like an appeal for, clients who want art on their walls that's not just a lightning bolt, but also like the Arizona landscape and stuff. And so I trying to do that more. But storms, to me, seeing how they're impacting the terrain around them is what's fascinating. So when I can have a clear view or I can be up high and I can get that, when you see where a lightning bolt actually hits, it turns your photo into like more of a 3D effect, even though it's a 2D photograph. You have mountains in front of you and you're high up and you see a bolt strike in front of that mountain and you see the landing point where it hits. It just changes everything. And once you start getting those, you don't want shots where a bolt lands behind a mountain and you don't see where it lands. I mean, I would just gladly delete almost every one of those, even though some people would be like, that's my dream shot. Nope. Like if I don't get to see the landing point or I don't have some reason that it's also that it's okay that I don't see it because the cactus or the foreground's really nice, then get really picky. So I tend to like, and doing time lapse especially, because I'm doing both at the same time. So there's a little bit of a difficulty where if I was just doing still photographs and that was it, I would probably be a little more courageous to go and shoot in front of, farmhouses, windmills, trees, and things like that. But doing time lapse, there's a lot of also licensing opportunities that come with these clips where I license to commercials, TV shows, nature documentaries, all those kind of things. Whereas if you got a bunch of stuff in the foreground, they're probably not going to use that shot. They really want
Oh.
sometimes to be able to, like a car commercial, they want to take. I have a commercial back in the day where it was the president from the show 24. I can't remember President Palmer. He was the Allstate guy, and he's sitting in a chair with his deep voice talking about this. And one of my time lapses is just going behind him with the clouds racing by. And if I had a house or a tree or something in the way, they wouldn't have used it. They used it because they could put it on the back of their screen and have nothing interfering with it. So I'm not like going out and time lapsing for commercials for sure, but that's kind of my style anyway. So when I'm time lapsing, I'm usually looking for unimpeded foreground. I'm looking for no other people in the shots, no chasers, things like that. So then my photographs end up being that way too. So um, it just depends, but that's more of my style. I like to see down a little bit. I like to see where the rain's hitting. I like to see the lightning hits. I don't like if I'm driving on a dirt road and there's a storm to the west and there's like this low hill between me and the storm that rises up where I feel like I can't see the base of the storm, then I just keep driving. And if it's no good, I turn around and try to find another road or something. Like I very picky about those kind of things and what I like.
That's actually super interesting because I didn't really think about that, but of course, the licensing aspect makes
Mhm.
perfect sense. Because
Yeah.
there's a situation where you're shooting with intent, in the same way that I think there's sort of a disconnect between what you see on social media very often, like on LinkedIn. Who looks at LinkedIn? Instagram is what I was
I
going to
don't.
say.
Yeah.
Whoever
Or
looks at LinkedIn?
TikTok or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the kind of stuff you see, for instance, on Instagram a lot. Um, if ever I see another bloody landscape picture with somebody in a yellow raincoat in the front, I want to kill myself.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
be honest,
Yeah. Well, though, the difference is a lot of, it's just different motivations and different goals. Their strategy is to be an influencer and to grow a following, and so they have to be in all the shots because that's their whole point, is they are influencing, and it's about them and their brand. For me, it's a little bit about my brand. I mean, I use my name for my photography, whereas some people will, a lot of people come up with names for their photography business, and then I never know who they are because I don't remember their names other than their business and stuff. And so I'm kind of my brand, but I'm not shooting to get myself in the shot. I'm shooting to get stock footage like I've been doing. It all started in 2011 where I got a big dust storm, which is this one right behind my head, um, that hit Phoenix. And that was this historic dust storm in 2011. And I got a time lapse of it and it went viral and it was everywhere and people were licensing it for things. And that's when I, kind of first realized that was actually something that people did. I think I got into weather photography and time lapse because I just love it. I didn't get into it for like a goal of really making money other than like, oh, I could sell some prints. And then when this happened and I time lapsed it, and I was, getting Nat Geo asking Al Gore, license it for climate change talks. And I would like, couple $1,000 here and there for those kind of things. I was like, whoa, I didn't know that people paid for stuff like this. And so that's what I kept. So then I started doing that more and more and more. And so that's what I still do to this day. I mean, there's like a Netflix show coming out soon. I don't know if it's the Americas or what. I'm talking to a few different people, but there's a Netflix show coming out with like 5 episodes. I've got like a minute worth of time lapse spread out across all the episodes, and it's stuff that's newer even in the last couple years. Um, so for me, I do like that's what I'm really shooting stuff. My intent has always been for that, because I still licensed through I use Film Supply. I've been with them for like 6-7 years now, and they license my footage all the time. And so that's kind of my goal on top of like, but I really like to make these films and I like to put them to music and all that stuff. It's kind of my mission, which is luckily my passion and desire to do this lined up with a way to, help earn a living.
But again, that's super, that is super interesting because that's not necessarily something you'd sort of consider right off the bat in the beginning, because you think like, oh, these are awesome, awesome images. I mean, they might look good on. First of all, I mean, nowadays people probably think they'd look great on Instagram, and then from that, well, they'll make a great print or something. But again, this whole idea of licensing that to like, production companies or, TV shows or news corporations or whatever, it makes perfect sense to create now that I'm thinking about that, this you gave me a really good idea because I'm gonna go back to Norway in about a month or so, a month and a half. Uh-huh.
Well, the
Huh.
one thing that I will say, like for me at least, is I think licensing stock footage and stuff like this is probably really difficult. I think with the niche I'm in, there's not very many people doing it. There's a few, and also it's really time consuming. It's cost a lot of money, all the driving, and then the post work it's just insane amount of work you have to do, and then storage and like all these things. And I've seen people give it a shot, but they don't keep at it very long because it's pretty difficult. It's like what I was just talking about with the whole, if I was just taking photos, what I could do differently if I wasn't time lapsing, like the discipline that I have to time lapse something is excruciating sometimes because I want to move or I want to be somewhere else or I want to be closer to a tornado. Like the one I got a quarter mile away from last year, I was time lapsing this tornado and I probably could have kept doing it. I could have stayed where I was and shot it a little longer. I might end up with cars in the shot, but I'm like, dude, I never had Mike, you never have this opportunity to be this close to a tornado and drive right up to it. And my whole bread and butter is getting time lapses of these things. And I just said, screw it. I'm driving up to this thing today. I'm going to get a shot. And that's all I'm going to worry about. And it's what it took for me to drive away from like a time lapse opportunity to drive right up in the hail and rain and get a shot down the middle of the road, knowing I couldn't time lapse it from there. And so people, I think, do give up a little bit because it takes a lot of discipline and it's frustrating a lot.
Thank you so much for tuning in.
If you enjoyed that clip, then press here for the full episode in glorious Technicolor. Hey, and don't forget to subscribe.